This is Jack, a horse which became a part of the tourism business less than a month ago. He was a healthy young horse, used to pull a buggy filled with tourists all over the city. But following a minor accident on Tuesday, his leg was broken. For humans, that would mean a cast and some bed rest. But for Jack, it was his death sentence. He was sedated later that day and put to sleep.
The bone that was snapped, it carries a lot of weight for the body of the animal, and he wouldn't be able to walk. In other countries, there are facilities, specialized facilities, where they can probably set these fractures and treat, but it takes up to a year before the animal is able to function normally again.
For animal lovers across the country, it is an unspeakable, horrific tragedy. And the discussion of the treatment of horses used to cart tourists around Belize City has been resurrected with a vengeance. Many times these horses are treated inhumanely, worked endless hours without proper care. The City Council is responsible for issuing trade licenses for horse and buggy operations in the city.
And it was something that was of concern to us because there have been interests and concerns raised by members of our community as it relates to the human treatment of these animals and the sanitary operation of this type of business, and it's something that we were very concerned with. There's a standing committee which comprises members of the Belize City Council, the horse and carriage operators, and members of the BTB who try to resolve several of these things. How the horse and carriage operation works is that the city regulates them from the trade license standpoint. So that what we did is that we sent out a list of items that they would have to comply with, and they would, upon completion of those things, then obtain a trade license. Only one of those operators, there are 4 of them, only one of those operators have met all the requirements.
The BTB then regulates from the tour operator's standpoint in terms of ensuring health and safety standards are put in place. So while City Hall deals with the trade license and BTB deals with health and safety of tourists, who takes care of the horses? Who ensures that they are well fed and well tended, that they are not overworked? There is legislation in place, but as is so often the case, enforcement is a problem.
We have been working very closely, and that's the purpose of this committee, with the BTB. One of the proposals that the City Council had put forward is that we have our Mile 4 facility, which houses our works operations, and a stable would have been constructed up there, which is in part constructed, and the animals would have been kept there. Of course, you have to deal with things like ensuring that the animal is properly maintained, groomed, fed, the animal doesn't work too hard. The difficulty is that we don't have personnel to actually enforce that. So we have been relying on community organizations, and we've been working with the BTB to ensure that there's compliance. And we also have been working very closely with the operators themselves, many of whom have expressed an interest and have said that this is concerning to them also, and they want to deal with it. As I said, only one of them really met the criteria to qualify for a trade license, to satisfy the committee that they had put in place all the measures to ensure that this operation is safe and humane to the animals.
I don't find it, once the rules and the regulations that are in place are enforced, it shouldn't be any kind of inhumane conditions or the work that the animal is doing. I mean, Belize is not the only country that they have horse and carriage situations. But if the laws that are there and the animals are given the proper checkups and all of that is needed, and that they follow the rules which are in place, then I don't see it should be a problem. And I think also the animals are a part of the traffic sometimes, and if drivers would be considerate of them, because as you can see now with this kind of injury, the animal has to be euthanized.
According to Dr. Jane Crawford, Jack was a perfectly healthy horse and had received his clearance to go to work. But she has had many cases where the horses are treated inhumanely.
Yes, I have come across the situations, and I think those operators are not operating anymore. But this particular animal, from what I know, it has been cared for, and it was recently castrated, just maybe about a month ago. And he was given a clean bill of health to start to work. And Mr. Gabriel even brought him all the way up here for us to check him twice before he was able to go back into, to start to work.
So will Jack's death go unremarked, or is there at least a lesson to be learned from the tragedy? We'd say it's a wake-up call, at least for City Hall.
I mean, in this case, it is bad enough, but the animal was lost. But you could have had a situation where people were lost, which would have made this so much more egregious. The reality is, as you have pointed out, Mike, that our streets are very small. There's heavy traffic, particularly around the time when these tours are operated. We oftentimes also get complaints that the horse and buggy itself disrupts the flow of traffic. You have people waiting behind, cars and cars and cars stacked up. And it's frustrating. So that one of the things that we had suggested is that there are established routes along the waterfront that these horse and buggy would be confined towards, because when you're looking at certain streets in Belize City, it's kind of inappropriate to have a tour around those areas because there's not that much tourism attraction there. And then also I think with these types of incidents, there's a question about the safety of this type of operation. And so it would be our preference that these horse and buggies be limited to certain specific areas.
Jack was being operated by Gabriel's Horse and Buggy Tours. We went to their place of business today, but nobody was there. Mike Rodon for News 5.